everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and I'm your host of the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here's where we talk about the connection between creativity and healing by interviewing amazing creatives, spectacular healers, and inspiring people who have used creativity in their healing. What does it mean to be creative? What is creativity? You don't have to write a best-selling book or paint a masterpiece or even play in a rock band. Creativity is in everything that we do, in the ways we think, in the way we run a business. In our everyday lives, we are creative all the time. Let's talk about how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, right now on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Hey everyone, Larissa Russell of Creative You. Welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today I have with me April Terreau. April was part of our second annual Loving, Healing, Creating Summit we ran in February and shared with us embracing your authentic sexual self. You can still get access to the summit at www.creativeviewhealing.com. So April lives to empower women, has been doing so for over 2 decades. As a midwife, she has empowered women through one of the biggest transformations of their lives, their transition to motherhood. April is also an experienced coach and a large group facilitator who inspires her community. She's committed to a continuous process of leveling up, and she's built her entire life around this principle. April has embraced and studied extensively the magical side of her sexuality for over 20 years and is now combining all of her talents into the Sacred Sisterhood of Sexuality, an online community of female-identified people to witness and encourage each other to embrace their authentic sexual selves. So welcome, April.
Thank you for having me, Larissa. This is so much fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. So can you share some of your story and the path that's brought you here?
Sure. My story is quite varied. I've had many different careers. And this is kind of where I'm at now. And I really feel like this is kind of my culmination of all of my life's work. So I started off kind of out of university and college as a massage therapist. And I love the healing, hands-on work with direct one-to-one with clients. I then got into some coaching. And so I've been coaching for 15, 20 years in the personal growth and personal development world. And then I went on and became a midwife, and I loved that. So, but I had to leave for various reasons. And so a lot of my life, I've been coaching people in healing, in wellness, in sexuality, and lots of different things. And my own personal journey, I have been studying sacred sexuality for 2 decades. So, I love that I get to combine all of that together into the Sacred Sisterhood of Sexuality. So it's an online community. I'm having lots of fun with it. And it's just a really great place to come. I create red tents, hence my nice red background. A red tent is there's a book called The Red Tent, which talks about a long time ago in biblical times that in nomadic world, the women would all menstruate together at the new moon. And so they would have a red tent where the women would go and menstruate together and be separated from the rest of the men and the rest of the community. And what was great about the red tent is that was a place to come with your women folk to learn and have the secrets and have the mysteries passed back and forth. So my online sisterhood has red tents where we meet in the red tent, hence the red tent, and we share our secrets and we share our mysteries and we learn and we delve into what is sexuality, what is it to be a woman, what are the sacred things that are about being a woman in our sexuality. So that's what it's all about. And in the red tent, what happens is people uncover a lot of the blocks they have around their sexuality and we free them up so they can be the most authentic sexual self they can be. And a lot of people have no clue what that even looks like. So that's where we start, is in the red tent.
I love that. I think it's so important. So important.
It really is. When my daughter entered puberty and she had her first blood, we had a big ritual. And her and I had talked about it for years before she finally had her first period. And so when she had her first period, it was an exciting thing for her. She was so excited. And what was great is that we created this ritual where we actually created a red tent in our house and invited all the women that were important to her. And we had this beautiful ritual. And what came out of it was all these women were just like, thank you for this. I needed this. I needed a place where we could come together and, celebrate being a woman and celebrate our periods and celebrate firsts of everything. And like a lot of women in that circle came to me and said, this felt like an initiation for me. And I just realized how important that is to have that sacred container where we as women can come together and really embrace being women together.
Yeah, I think it, especially now as we're sort of as women trying to break out of that masculine mold that we've been sort of pushed into if we want to be a part of the world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we want to be working women, we have to do that masculine thing. And so I think this is really important to sort of embrace that feminine and understand our
Yeah.
own selves,
It
right?
is so important because success in a masculine patriarchal world is very different than success in a feminine nurturing world. So
Mhm.
it is really good to see that and to really explore it and explore what works for us. And as we know, sexuality has been so hmm, uh, I don't know the proper word of it, but not what sexuality could be. It has just been
Mhm.
morphed into this commercialized, let's use it for our own gain, let's make it very male dominated visual. And so a lot of women don't even understand what it means to explore their own sexuality. So for me to provide that space, I've got the healthcare background, so I can talk about the health and safety of it all. I've got the coaching background, so I can really help people unblock their blocks. Plus, I got the sacred sexuality background where I know what's possible, and there's so much
Mhm.
possible in sexuality that we are just, even me who's been studying it for 20 years, I feel like I'm just skimming the surface. So yeah, there's so much potential in our sexuality, and I really love exploring it. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
mhm,
So
mhm.
what does healing with creativity mean to you?
It's a good question. And when we originally talked about me being part of the summit, I was like, what is the connection? And when I really started to think about it, it's huge, right? Like,
Mhm.
so a question I like to ask, and I asked it in the summit, is, how creative is your sexuality?
Mhm.
What do you mean? How sexual is your creativity? Wait, what? And they're really so linked. Like creativity and sexuality are so linked. If you're in the energy world, in the same chakra, the same, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, that's where creativity and sexuality comes from. And really, there's no more creative, powerful force than sex. That's what creates life, right? It's like, well, I mean, I know in today's world it can happen without sex, but for generations, how we create human life is through sexuality, right? So there's
Mhm.
so much force there. So creativity and healing, that's what you were asking about, right? So I actually
Mhm.
use sexuality and the creativity in my sexuality for healing. What does that happen? So have you ever, this is getting really personal, or some might not just be asking you directly, but more of our listeners, but have you ever had such deep, intimate, connected sex that's just really rocking, and you end up in bursts of tears, like tears just start flowing and flowing and flowing, right? And then we're like, oh my God, this is weird. Oh, stop this. This is sexual. I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't have these emotions. No, 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 no. That's beautiful, because that energy of sexuality just courses through your body and opens up energy blocks. We hold so much in our bodies. We hold a lot of trauma in our bodies. We hold a lot of emotions in our bodies. And so when you're sexual, not only are you the physicals there, but also the energetic is there, and it can free up this, and these emotions can come out. I have had probably my most profound healing in a sacred sexuality ritual. I was, personal note, I was infertile. I went through 17 years of infertility.
Mm.
That's a lot of years of infertility. I mean, off and on, but I did everything, IVF, this, you name it. I went the whole gamut. And once we said, okay, we set the line in the sand. We said, this is our last round, and that's it. Didn't work. So then it was like, what do I do now? Like, I felt like I had this huge gaping hole of this label of, I'm a barren woman. I will never get pregnant. What does that mean? Who am I as a woman? What does that mean about my sexuality? Do I have worth? Like, if anybody's gone through fertility, they know all those questions that come up. And I was like, how do I heal this? And I had really come to the acceptance that I'm just going to have this gaping wound my whole life. And, I'll never go to a baby shower. I'll never be grateful for other people having babies. It'll just be this big gaping wound. And being a midwife, of course, I was around birth all the time. So it was like, how do I come to some kind of conclusion or anything like that? And unbeknownst to me, Spirit had a different idea. They're like, no, 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 you're not going to carry this around. And I went into the the sacred sexual ritual. No intention with this on my mind. And this came up. And in one ritual, I completely healed 17 years of infertility. In one ritual, done, complete. like to the point where I could talk about it easily like I am now. There's none of the hooks. There's none of the emotional triggers associated with it. It's just like, yep, this is who I am. And it was the most beautiful thing. And I didn't know that that's what was possible with sexuality. Does that make sense? Like, like literally 17 years of a journey that I had gone to counseling. I had done all these things and one ritual and got complete. Like, so thankful for that to come into my world. And so I want to just teach what's possible. And so the healing in sexuality, and the more creative you get with your sexuality, the more possibilities are available to heal, to manifest, using sexuality to manifest. Whew, talk about powerful. The new house that I'm in right now, all set up in a sacred sexual ritual. So, and having a house at this point in my life was not possible. So there's so much possibility in that. So that's where my creativity, sexuality, and healing are all combined.
I love that. It's so funny when you were just saying that about your house, and the first thing that pops into our head, and this is that very masculine world, is, oh, did you sleep with someone to get your house? It wasn't exactly what I thought of, and then I was like, no, I know. But that's that masculine energy that we're so surrounded with, right? It's like,
it really is. Yeah.
How do you get things? You sleep with a man so they give it to you.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I did not do that. I got married in 2019.
I'm sorry if I implied that, but
no, it's okay. But it's good to no. But in 2019, I got married to my now husband. And in December, we planned out our whole year. And part of that, one of our stretch goals was to buy a house. Like, we were just newly married. It was not possible for us. So we said, well, let's create it magically, and did a lot of sex magic around it. And lo and behold, we found our house, found a way to make it happen. And here we are. So it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah. I like your version better.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't need to sleep with anybody to get the house. Although, sleeping with him was in the cards, but I paid for it just as much as he did. So.
Awesome. So what inspires you then in the work that you do?
Oh, what inspires me is seeing the transformation in other women. Like taking a woman, female identified folk, whoever, but just like really working with them and getting them to see where they're blocked, because most people have no idea where they're blocked. So having them go through a process to have them see those blocks, see how it's affecting them, and then guide them through a process to get it out of their way, and then to free up what's possible, and then for them to create what's possible, and then to get into action about what's possible. That, to see them totally blossom and transform is absolutely, it's like, I used to birth women into motherhood, and now I'm birthing women into like their sexual power. And it's like, yes, that's what's so exciting.
I love that. That. And it's so true that when you take ownership of your own sexuality, right? How much power, like, that is just so powerful. So powerful.
The number of times I hear women saying, yeah, but I got a lousy partner, so that's not ever going to change. I'm like, did I say anything about your partner? I said nothing about your partner. You don't need a partner. You don't have to have a partner. You can still be sexual without a partner or partners or whatever you want. Like, there are so many possibilities available. So in your sexuality, I am responsible for my own sexuality. My husband is not responsible for my sexuality. And thank the Lord, I am not responsible for his sexuality. And that's a conversation we have on a regular basis. Like, if our sexual drives are like out of sync, you go deal with yours, I'll go deal with mine.
I'll go deal with mine.
And when we do come together, it works beautifully. So, but I'm not responsible for his sexual satisfaction, and he's not responsible for my sexual satisfaction. So that's a hard one to get your head wrapped around at first, because we're so inundated with, my partner has to be my one and only, and that's the only way it can happen. And I can't be sexually pleased unless they're on the same page. I'm like, does it help? It can, yes, but there's so much more to sexuality. It doesn't necessarily need to be with a partner.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with that. So this is something that's come up a lot with creatives and healers. And what are your thoughts on monetizing healing?
Such a good question. Again, it comes from that patriarchal world, right? Your value is determined by your bank account. Monetizing healing, monetizing creativity, for me, it's a value exchange. It's like, I've got 20 years of sacred sexuality under my belt. If I can teach that to you, in a 2-month course, what's that worth to you, right? Like, there's a lot that I've had to go through those 20 years to get to where I am at this level of knowing. And there's so much I don't know, but I still know a lot more than some people who haven't been studying sacred sexuality and who haven't coached for 20 years, and et cetera. So there's definitely an exchange. There needs to be an energy exchange. I'm somebody who's very open to alternate energy exchanges. Absolutely. Like, the Star Trek ideal world is where we don't get paid, right? Where we're just adding value to the world, right? So, and it's a part of our world now. It's just kind of the way the world works. Are you getting value? Great, then it needs to be monetized. Or, talk to me, pitch me. If you really want to be in my course and the money's not something that you can do, let's talk. Like, let's create some kind of, value exchange in another way. But it's just kind of the way the world works. So for me, it's about valuing our worth as healers and creatives. Absolutely. And it's also, what will the market bear? Like what kind of value you're adding to them and whether they'll take advantage of that or not. Because I also have found out that if there's no skin in the game, they don't get the transformation. Like that's just plain and simple. Like I've given courses away for free before and they didn't even do them. So, or they do like 1 or 2 sessions. That wasn't for me. Well, you had no skin in the game, right? But those who pay for it, let me tell you, they are sucking up every ounce and they are getting as much out of it as they possibly can, which I love because that's where the real trend. That's why I do this, is to help that transformation happen, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There's got to be some skin in the game as well. So I can see it from both sides. And, if we're talking about a value exchange, there's still skin in the game there, right?
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So then what is the creative healing modality that you use the most for yourself?
Oh, sex magic. Hands down. Absolutely. It is. It's my first go-to. If I'm feeling down, if I'm working through something, whatever, it's my safe place. So I open circle and have some fun, get the energy moving, and then just allow to come up whatever comes up. So, one of the things that I really teach a lot is releasing expectations, the magic can arise. So many of us have so many stories and so many expectations about what sexuality should look like, what it should feel like, what it should be like. And that's what gets in the way. But when you can really just let that go and just really open up, then that's when magic arises, is when, wow, I didn't know that was possible. Oh, wow, what was that? That felt really good. Let's do that again. It's something that it's easy to talk about, a lot harder to implement because we live inside of those expectations all the time. And that's where all the disappointment comes from. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've gotten off topic, but yeah. No. what was the question again? What's the modality I use? Sex magic. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's my safe space. Like I can open up circle and like open up a ritual and just be in that space, and whatever arises, I can cry, I can be angry, I can do whatever. And I always feel better at the end. Always feel better in some way, or I come out with a new understanding or new messages or new inner knowings that I didn't see before. So that's my go-to, is definitely sacred space for sure.
I love that. A little different than a lot of the answers I've gotten before, for sure, but I love it. I'm always saying creativity is in everything we do.
Really, and every ritual I do is so different, right? Like there's kind of like a standard, this is how to open circle and this is how to close circle and that kind of stuff, which is great because it just kind of aligns your attentions. But I don't need all that stuff anymore. I can just declare that this is sacred space, set my intention, and then see what occurs. And it's the creativity in that is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say you're proudest of in your life?
Oh man, so much. My daughter, for one, because having the 17-year infertility journey, we adopted her from Kazakhstan. So she's an international adoptee. She's 21 now, and she is absolutely the light of my life. So proud of her. And she's got her head on straight. She's really smart. She's finishing her last year of university and off to grad school. She's fantastic. But when you sent me this question beforehand, I'm like, what is the thing I'm most proud of? And I gotta say, it's probably my conscious relationship with my husband. So we've consciously created a relationship. We've both had previous relationships, and who hasn't? And we consciously chose to make this new, to really see what was possible and to create it together. everything from how we live on a day-to-day basis to writing our wedding vows. We went away for a weekend. We had a weekend retreat to write our wedding vows because we wanted our vows to be a conscious creation of who we are and who we are to each other and what you can count on me for. And that was amazing. And to this day, people are like, yours was like the best wedding ever. And where that comes from is just really setting the intention, which is all what magic is setting the intention, putting the emotion behind it, raising some energy and releasing. So that's kind of what I've done in my relationship. And people are always coming to me saying, oh my God, you guys are like, you're like really in love. I'm like, yeah, we really are in love. And we work on it every day. We generate that every day. So I got to say my conscious relationship with my husband is probably the thing I'm most proud of. And my daughter, they're, even Stevens.
But you make a good point about relationships and how it is work, right?
Mm-hmm,
People think you find your person and then everything is just supposed to be fine. But that's not reality. Relationships are work. Yeah. And if you want a good relationship, you have to keep working on it, right?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you can't do it yourself. That's the, but you can work on you.
You can work on you, which tends to help relationships as well. So I've worked with people where they thought they were in a dead-end relationship and their partner was not open to coaching. And so I just worked with the one person and it actually transformed the relationship. So when people really get responsible for the relationships, like I get that I'm 100% responsible for my relationship with my husband. Mm-hmm. Whatever he puts in is gravy, but I'm 100% responsible for how our marriage is. And when I take that, like I'm not codependently responsible for him and his happiness or no. I'm responsible for our marriage. I'm responsible for doing the work. I'm responsible for checking in. I'm responsible for like really being with each other and creating that space for each other and creating that sacred space for each other that I know works. So it's a different way to look at things. Some people are like, it's his responsibility or her responsibility. And it's like, look here first, because that's really where the power lies to change anything.
Well, and that's so true, because you can't change other people, but if you change, they have to change, right? Like that's just it. Yeah, how it is. They change or they leave. That's how it is.
I have a different view on love as well. I think my view on love is a function of acceptance. So my job is to accept him 100% for who he is right here, right now. That's my job, to love him. That's my act of loving is how can I accept him for exactly who he is, exactly where he is. And that can be hard for people, especially in our world. I don't know how it happened, but women, we have it that we need to fix and change them. That's the worst thing you can do. That is a recipe for disaster. So my job is to, how do I accept him totally 100% for who he is? He's got his ups and downs. He's got his foibles. He's got his blocks and his whatever. And my job is to accept him 100% for who he is, because I've given my word to that. And when I stand in that space and I accept him 100% for who he is, giving up all expectations so the magic can arise, that's when it's like, oh my God, I'm so in love with him. So I'm generating that love. Like, wow, that's amazing.
I love that. I love that. So if you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
Oh, for the world to get the power of sexuality, because we have morphed it into something that it is so not. And the magic and the power that's available is like, I really believe if people were truly authentically sexually themselves, this world would be a completely different place. Like, we would be living dreams. We would be more passionate about life. We would not be holding ourselves back in areas that we hold ourselves back in. We would just be like out there doing our thing. So, really unleashing the power of sexuality, because it's what blocks us sexually is usually what blocks us in life. So let's look at that. It's a really great vehicle for learning what's really blocking you in life.
I like that. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And, let's get honest. A lot of us have trauma in that area. A lot of us have, bad experiences in that area. And so that sexuality has been really shut down. And, religion has told us we're not allowed to talk about it, or it's like only happens between a man and a woman, in holy matrimony kind of thing. And then it's not supposed to be talked about outside of that. What? No. How are we supposed to learn? How are we supposed to grow? How are we supposed to explore who we are as a sexual person. I have nothing against religion. Please, like, your religion is your religion, but let's really look at how is this impacting my sexuality? And, is it for the better? Is it for the worse? Is it working for me? Is it not working for me? Is this serving me? Is this not serving me? If it's not serving me, let's like really start to open up. And then also like once, if that is your religious beliefs, once you're married, who do you talk to? How do you learn? Because, especially if you're both virgins on your wedding night, not that that happens much anymore, but apparently it does. Like, where are they supposed to learn this from? Porn? That's the worst place to learn about sexuality. Don't get me wrong. Again, I don't want to knock porn. It's got its place for things, but it is created for man's visual cortex. That's what it's created for. 98% of porn is made specifically for men's visual minds, and women, that's not the way our sexuality works. So it just creates so many problems. And that's a whole podcast in itself if you want me to talk about how porn has affected our sexuality. But it's really, I find it so sad because that's all people know about is porn. And then they try it and they're like, well, I didn't like that. Oh, I must not like sex. And then they just shut everything down. I'm like, no. There's so much more available in a safe place where you feel loved and nurtured and taken care of. Like, there's so much more out there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And play and have fun. Play and have fun.
Yes, please. It's all about pleasure and enjoying your body and enjoying the feelings and what's possible. And it's never explored. So my mission in life is to get people to get rid of their blocks and their expectations and let all that go. So the magic and what's possible with sexuality can really arise. Because, man, I feel like I'm only like scratching the surface, and it's been so powerful in my world, like so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So have you struggled with imposter syndrome in your work? And if so, how have you gotten over it?
Yes. Who hasn't, right?
Yeah.
Wow, such a good question. How do I get over it? That's always a good question. I like to keep myself in communication a lot. I've got accountability groups that I talk to, one on a weekly basis. I've got people I talk to on a regular basis of, this is what I'm out to produce. This is what I'm creating. This is what I'm stopped with. I've hired a coach. So I've got a coach right now that I'm working with on certain things. So it's get the help. The best thing that gets me over it is when I just talk to people. I'm like, I totally know what I'm talking about. Like, hello, I've been a healthcare professional for 20 plus years. I've been coaching people for 20 years. I've been studying sacred sexuality for 20 years. I think I'm qualified. Right. So yeah, where I get caught in the imposter syndrome is I don't know social media that well. How am I gonna look as good as the next person? It's like, oh, just stop. Do what I know, put my word out there, know that the people that are meant to find me will come find me. If I just keep getting the word out, and it will attract, the vibe will attract who needs to be attracted to it. And, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that. And that's okay. The people I want to work with, the people who really want to work with me, that's who I want to work with. I don't want to work with people who are just kind of trying it out no. I want what she's got. She knows what she's talking about. I want to work with them. That's like, I want that kind of, I want that. If I'm not gelling with you, I'm totally okay with that. And I got to just keep reminding myself of that over and over and over again. So that's so far what I've come up with imposter syndrome. And then also, I really feel, I don't know if you've read Liz Gilbert's book, Big Magic. Have you read Big Magic?
Yes.
I love her theory of how there's these big ideas floating through space and she just kind of grabs onto them and channels them in. I totally feel like the sisterhood is absolutely 100% a big magic idea. And I'm like, I better move with it, because if I don't, somebody else is going to take it. So I'm moving, I'm making it happen. And here we go. We're growing and growing and growing. So yeah, I didn't want anybody, I just wanted to, I felt it was given to me and I'm just channeling it through, and let's go, let's have some fun. And I'm having such a great time with it. And the community is just, I'm always amazed by how awesome the women are.
Oh, I love that. And it's true. All women, if you say you don't, you're lying to yourself. All women struggle with imposter syndrome at some point.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's even some men I don't think it's as much a masculine energy thing, but I do. I'm sure there are some men that do.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they do. They just cover it in a different way. For us,
That could
we
be.
tend to turtle and shell and go into paralysis. Men go into push more, push more, push more. I got to get out of there. Go, 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 go. I have to prove myself, prove myself, prove myself, prove myself. Because underneath it is the imposter syndrome of I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm talking about. I remember
Very
somebody.
good point.
Yeah, I remember somebody telling me just recently that if there's a job description and a man sees the job description and has about 60% of the qualifications, like, oh, I'm a shoe-in, let's go. And a woman, if she doesn't see 100% tick, 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 she won't even apply. So it really is in our conditioning, right? It's in our conditioning of a man's like, I can do it. I can put myself out there, not a problem. And women are taught to, oh, no, only if you're perfect, only if you look a certain way, only if you've got the perfect hourglass figure, only if this, only if that. I mean, the number of women, like, I remember before I started the sisterhood, I did interviews with women on just to kind of talk to them about what they think would be good and, you know, where they are in their sexual journey and all that. 100% of them said something in the realm of, if my body image were different, I would have a better sex life. I'm like, what? If I just lost 25 pounds, I think I'd feel more confident sexually. If I just looked a different way, then it would feel better. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm about to abolish that as well. It doesn't matter what your body size is, what your body shape is. We are sexual beings, and it is a beautiful right to explore that and have fun with it and enjoy it and express it. And who cares what your body looks like? It's a beautiful vessel that is like giving you this amazing pleasure and this amazing connection to spirit and to energy. And I could keep talking on and on, and I'll stop. But yes. So again,
I love how passionate you are.
I'm so passionate about it. What's the question again? I keep getting lost. I keep going off on these tangents.
We were still talking about imposter syndrome, but you
That's
got
right.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, and the imposter syndrome comes up in sex as well. Plus, also, how many women do you think have faked an orgasm before? Why are they doing that? Well, because they don't feel they're good enough to deserve a real one. What? What are you doing? You're teaching them that what they're doing is okay, and it's not, because you didn't have the orgasm if that was your goal. And anyways, I think that's something else I could talk about as well. But
I might have to join your group. Not because I actually feel I need that, because I'm doing pretty good, but I've done a lot of exploring and playing in my life. So, but I just love your energy. And I think that, if I was going to learn anything else, it would be, from you, for sure.
And it's not just for me. What I love about the sisterhood is that you actually learn from each other, because we don't talk about it. There is no safe place to talk about, hey, you know what? I found this trick out. I don't know if it works for anybody else, but man, is it good? Like, who talks to you about what edging is? Edging, what's that? Getting to the point of orgasm and holding back. Why would I do that? Oh, let me tell you, there's a lot of good reasons for that. And that builds you up to a higher level of energy. And like, there's so much that, like, where do you learn this? You're not going to learn that in porn. It's like, go for the gold, go for the gold, go for the gold. And that doesn't necessarily work for us. So where are we learning these things? And we learn from each other. And that's why I love the sacredness of the red tent, is because that's where we come to talk and discuss. And I think I'm learning more from my community than they're learning from me, which that's fantastic, because there's so much to learn. So it's definitely all about cross-pollination and learning things. And people come from a variety of backgrounds. Some people have been, again, exploring sexuality for a long time. Some people are like, I can't believe I'm in this group. Please don't tell anybody I'm in this group. I can't believe I'm talking about this. Oh my goodness. Welcome. Come. Everybody's welcome. And there's one of my number one rules is there's no comparison. You are not allowed to compare yourself to anybody else, because that is a death trap. Don't do it. Don't go there. Where you are is perfect. If there's something you want to learn from them, great, but don't compare yourself to somebody else, because that's absolutely a death trap too.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So do you have an inspirational quote that you live by?
I do. It's quite a popular one. But once I heard it, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, I guess it was 15. I don't know, long time. I've been living by this quote. It's the Marianne Williamson quote. Our greatest fear is not that hold on, I've got it written down. And of course now I got to go and get it. Our Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? That's that imposter syndrome you were talking about. Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us, and we all let our own light shine. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Probably the last sentence that I really live by is, how dare you diminish your light to make other people more comfortable. So for me, it's all about live your light, live your passion, be out loud, and that's going to give other people permission to let their light shine as well. So that's one thing that I really live by. Until thine own self be true. Obviously, that's another one that I always love to live by, is to really be true to yourself. And sometimes that's really hard. That's really difficult. So those two are kind of my guiding lights of, how can I allow myself to shine? And sometimes when you shine, people don't like it. And there can be negative consequences, but man, you got to keep shining, because if some people are intimidated by it, it's usually coming from envy or jealousy or imposter syndrome or any of those things. But it's important. Like if we all just shone our beautiful beauty and, got to be ourselves, then absolutely. So what I'd love is a world where we can all be our authentic, true selves and not have to worry about what other people think of me. What is this? And what negative consequences am I going to get in that? And all of that. So,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So is there anything else you'd like to add that we maybe didn't discuss today that you want our listeners to know?
I don't know. We kind of discussed a whole bunch, didn't we? Anything else I'd like people to know? Find a healing modality, creativity that works for you and stick with it. Find somebody that really resonates with you. Find what really works for you. And it's okay for it not to work. Like just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So move on. And also don't hide with moving on, because there's those people where nothing ever works. So find one that really resonates, that really feels right, and explore that and go with that for a while. I mean, I know in my own healing journey, I've gone from lots of different things, from Reiki to different types of spiritualities to all sorts of things. But when I found, the magical world of ritual and definitely sex magic, I was like, oh, I am so home. This feels so truly me. And I go to Sacred Sexuality festivals 4 times a year, usually. Hopefully, with the vaccine becoming more readily available, hopefully my Sacred Sexuality festivals will be happening soon. I hope soon, because living without them in 2020 was really difficult for me. But the Sacred Sexuality festivals for me is where I feel most at home, and it's just such wonderful healing and good people, and we all gather together because we all have very similar beliefs, and we all explore what's possible sexually, not necessarily with each other. I mean, if that's your thing, great. It's not a festival where everybody has sex with everybody else. I mean, if you want to, that's available, but if you don't want to, that's totally welcome as well. So it's just a beautiful place to go and be ourselves and really explore what's possible. So I just, what I want people to know is who you are as an authentic being is so worth uncovering.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. And I mean, that's what I strive for with, healing with creativity, is for people to just step into their own authentic selves, right?
Yeah.
Uncover those blocks, those things that are getting in your way. Find your way of doing that. So yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you want to explore through sexuality, give me a call. Find my dudes, because that's who I want to hang out with. Those are the people who I want to have fun with, not necessarily sexually, but just to really talk with and explore what's possible, and explore trade secrets and what's working and what's not working, and really get creative in that world of sexuality.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. It's
Thank
been a
you,
great
Larissa.
Conversation.
Yes.
Probably a little different than what I've presented to my audience before, but as women, we need to be open and exploring different things. And next week I'll have something different, and so just keep exploring. So
exactly. And thank you for doing what you do, because creativity is so important, and it is absolutely so I love that we've met and that we've, combined forces, because it's so in alignment. Like, people's creativity and their sexuality is absolutely in alignment. So we both help people uncover their blocks and open up and see what's possible. So thank you for doing the work that you do.
Thank you. To our listeners, we will see you again next week. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days.
And sexy days too.
Are you a daily journaler? Do you want more creativity in your day? We have 2 great creativity journals to start your day with. One for people who already have a journaling practice, and one for people who are new to journaling. Both are an amazing way to start your day. Both make the perfect gift for a person in your life. Check out Have an Amazingly Creative Day and How Do I Have an Amazingly Creative Day? Both currently available on Amazon. Click the link below to purchase yours now.